and early 90s, and very much a firm favourite still amongst the local crowds here in Sussex. Matt Millen in 925. We've got a few number double-ups this evening. Here's the first of them. This is 183 Mixed Skerry with a Rover P5 Coupe. Here's one that's always involved. Second generation of the bangers, so he wasn't actually racing, of course, when these cars were the new, but he's certainly going to be using that to good force this evening, and that is Carl Sauter in 288s. Of course, the Corpiella racing family, they go back many years in the bangers, and 241 Paul Corpiella with a nice Austin 3 litre. Good to see John Dodge here amongst the crowds this evening, but his two boys are racing. James Dodge, Jimbo in 702, although some call him Jumbo these days, and that's a Daimler 250, very rare car for James Dodge in 702. Another one out, Andy Forrest in a Fintail in 69, and Taylor Sauter in 388. Of course, immaculately prepared. Most of the cars here have had hours and hours and hours of working, because it's basically a restoration job. A lot of these cars wouldn't have been able to have been restored to have been on the road. It's nothing, you know, no vandalism or anything like that. We don't want to hear that kind of thing. A lot of these cars have sat under trees, they've sat in fields, they've sat in barns. They would never ever have been able to have been restored to race on the road. It is for banger racing only, because of course you are allowed to transplant different engines in to make them go, so we can enjoy the sights and sounds of classic Carnage here at Arlington this evening. Paul Anscombe in 53, good to see Paul back. Of course, was a regular racer during the 1980s in the bangers here, then went on to have a long stock car career as well, but back for classic Carnage this evening in 53, a Random Plat 3 litre for Paul Anscombe in 53. From the filmers, always involved of course, is 884. Good to see that they're here. Late addition to the list actually, for filmer in 884. Mentioned James Dodge now, but here is Peter Dodge in 197. Was Mini Stock World Champion way back in 1980. Of course, was a big star throughout the 1980s and early 1990s, even originally number 252. Then he switched to 700, still very much a local favourite. Let's hear it then for Mark Glenister Marco in 700. And there's a man with a real legendary name in banger racing, big star throughout the 1980s, Wild Bill Aldred in 353. He was the very first figure of 8 world champion, Wild Bill in 353. Originally from South London, but these days resides in a very nice part of West Sussex. So Bill Aldred 353, good to see he is back for one last, well not necessarily one last go, but certainly for another go here tonight in 353. James Morrison in 295, another beautifully turned out. These cars really are absolutely amazing, and here's a man who was here in period, so to speak. Mark Thomas, Tombo in 25. Of course, was well known for racing in the Triumphs, and still does from time to time in the historic stock cars. In 72. Welcome back then to Bill Pilot in 26. In all fairness, he doesn't look old enough to have be racing that long ago. Then we get 625 in a Rover, again a late addition to the list. And here's one of the cars of the night. We will be judging car of the night. We've got a couple of judges looking at that one, but Sean Plummador in a Vauxhall PB Cresta. Superb car there for Sean in 97. Rob Barrington in 550. Of course, his dad, Diamond Jim, was a star throughout the late 80s and into the 90s in 550 in the Volvo. Toby in 134. Again, another Rover P5. For Toady, Scott Hanby in 134. 346 is Scott Standards in a Humber Super Snipe for Scott Saunders. Muttley was the driver's Rover there in Kent. Another Rover P5 here for John Mills in 598. Millsy, expect him to get well and truly involved. Pete Hamler, Gromit in 131, Austin 3 litre. Very, very nicely turned out. And if you can, take a look at the bonnet of that car, because it is very, very nicely done. In memory of sprint car racer Brian Clausen, who unfortunately was taken from us in an accident in America a week ago today. So very nicely done there to Pete Hammer Grommet in 131. Tom Farron, Rover P5 Coupe for Tom in 757. And now here's another one, car of the night for 737, Elliot Finney. It's an Austin.